Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Saturday morning. It's 5:30 in the morning. That means it's time for coffee and sketching and coffee live. We do this every morning at 5:30 in the morning Texas time. This is the time of day I am recording, by the way. This is the time of day that we pull a toy out of the toy box. Random toy, a random object out of the Random Object Randomogrifier, if you will. We do this every morning where we pull this toy out and we draw it and we talk about it. Today we have a snack. It is not just any snack. That's S-N-E-K, snack. It's not just any snack. I know my dad's watching. Yes, all of the lights are on. I know my dad is watching this with his at a distance because my dad does not like snacks. They're all a mile long and they can deadly poisonous. But today's snack is not poisonous. This is an emerald boa from the northern part of the Amazon basin, the northern part of South America. And the emerald boa is known specifically for its bright green color. We're going to do a little composition here. We want to make sure that everything we want to put on the page gets on the page, has room. See right there, I know that if I put that tail where it goes, that I won't have room for that shadow. So I want to make sure that I have room for that. I want to shift everything over to the right just a little bit. And make sure that there's room for that head there. And now we should be good. That is the importance of the composition phase. That is why we go through the composition phase every time. So yeah, the emerald boa, they're non-venomous, and they are known for their bright green, beautiful, jewel-like colors. They're almost iridescent. They almost look like they glow. They look a lot like vipers. They have a twin in Australia due to convergent evolution. They have a twin in Australia, but they are not related at all to the vipers in Australia. And they're just boa constrictors. They eat birds and rats, and other snakes, lizards, bats, flying things. They have a striking distance. It's quite impressive. They can strike the whole length of their body. And they just lie in wait. They like to hang in a knotted. They like to hang in a knotted pose in the trees. Just boa constrictors. Try and my mom's singing "Trust in Me." This is not Ka. I asked if it was any relation to Ka. It is not Ka. Ka from the Jungle Book. Trust in me. Anyway, they like to hang from the trees and just wait for prey to come by. They wait all coiled up for prey to come by. And then they strike. Yeah, they just shoot out the whole length of their body and just strike at whatever it is they're about to kill. And they're really good at it. They've been doing it. Their family evolved some 200 million years ago. And this particular snake, according to the mitochondrial DNA, this particular snake deviated from the rest of the constrictors about 30 million years ago. So they developed during the Cretaceous. They've been around ever since. And they are just quite lovely. And that has been their downfall. Because they're so pretty, people being people, want them. They want them. They want to wear them. They want to keep them as pets. They want them as decorations for their houses. So that has been their downfall. Alright, let's make sure we get that eye. There's an eyeball right there. And there's a design on the top of the head that we want to make sure we get that goes off that way. Alright, now we're ready for the first ink pass. Got the composition phase down, locked in some of the details. We're ready for the, what is that? How does that connect anything? Ah, that is this coil. This coil goes back here and does this. Okay. Can't talk, Harding. You also have to remember that this is a toy, and as much as I want to put more detail onto it, it is just a toy. And so part of the exercise is drawing what you actually see and not what you think you ought to see. So I'm not going to put in the teeth that aren't there. I'm not going to put in the dead rat that I think it ought to be holding. As cool as all that would be, it's not on the object, so we're not going to add it. And I am not going to attempt to add all of these scales. We're going to do essence of scales. I'm not out of ink. We're just going to do essence of scales. There's a lot of scales to be trying to do in a 30-minute sketch. On a Saturday morning. One of my favorite things about the Saturday morning show is that the added game is, am I wearing pants? Because honestly, this is the pajama show. I may or may not actually be wearing pants. I don't have anywhere to be today. The wife and kids are going to be out of the house all day. My mom's in my ear saying, that's more than I wanted to know. My wife and kids are going to be out of the house all day. So I may or may not actually have clothes on. But I am wearing clothes. It's just, they're pajamas. I didn't have to get all dressed up, which is a good thing, because this morning, man, that alarm went off and I was all comfy and warm. It's been rainy and stormy here. And it's just very easy just to roll over and go back to bed. And I did today. I slept until after 5, which is unusual for me. But where were we? Oh yeah, their beautiful green skin is their downfall, because their biggest threat is poachers. People going out into the jungle and catching them and then selling them as pets. And they are horrible pets. Horrible. These things are not domesticated by any stretch of the imagination. They do not do well in captivity. They have super high mortality rate. 90% of the animals caught in the wild and kept as pets, 90% of them die, is the estimate. 90% of them die within a few months of being brought into captivity. So they bring them into captivity, they sneak them into the country, they try to sell them at the expos because the pet stores won't deal with them, won't deal with the poachers. They try to pass them off as captive bred, but most of the ones that they say are captive bred are really just pregnant snakes that they caught, let them have their baby snakes, and then tried to sell the baby snakes as captive bred, and they don't survive. Those snakes have a 70% mortality. It's horrible. It's horrible. Horrible. All right. I do need to come back here just a second and make some indications of the scales. I don't want you to think that this is a scaleless snake, because it is not. But I just want essence of scale. So we're just going to do the crosses like this, just so that you get just so that it gives the impression that there is structure there without going too much detail. Now, my friend Bill Flowers, snake artist, he would get in there. He loves to do scales. He would get in there and he would do every single scale. That's why people love him. These things do horrible as pets. And even the poachers are not being as successful because the zookeepers and some of the more reputable breeders have figured out how to keep them alive. So the poachers are not being as successful as they once were. And so they're not stealing as many of them as they used to, but it's still happening. And so if you decide that you see one of these beautiful green snakes and you want to keep it as a pet, just remember it most likely was not sourced ethically. It was most likely just stolen from its home and will not like or survive that. It's not going to like you. It's not going to get used to you. And you can't rehome it. You can't. Unless you can find a way to get back to the Amazon basin, you can't just let it go. Because people will do that too. People will take it to the Florida Everglades and say, okay, poor snake, I wasn't able to give you the home that you needed, so now I'm just going to let you go. And then all of a sudden you've got a population of emerald green boas in the Florida Everglades messing up the environment there. just don't do it, people. Don't do it. Wild animals are meant to be wild. They're not pets. No matter how pretty they are, they're not your playthings. They have a job to do in the wild, keeping the other keeping the other animals from overpopulating. See how we're doing that essence of snails, of scales? Coming along with the royalty-free music. How are we doing on time, by the way? Oh, good Lord, it's already 5:45. We should be way further along than this. All right. I think We'll let that set for a minute while we do this part of it. But they are cranky pets. They are fragile pets. Even the very experienced breeders will tell you they are difficult to keep, and so they're especially not good for new herpetologists to keep. Herpers call themselves herpers. People who keep snakes as pets call themselves herpers. Their young are born alive. The mother gives live birth. They don't call them newborns in snakes. They call them neonates, neonates. They call them neonates because which means newborn, but it covers the fact whether they're born live or whether they're born or whether they're hatched. The term neonate covers both of those. So their young are born live, and they're born a bright red or orange color. They turn green as they get older. People like that too. And the people that are breeding them for calmness, and they're breeding them for the colors. And so you're getting a variety. You're seeing a variety of color, from the deep emerald green to the yellows to the reds. Let's see, how's that working out? Is that pretty close? That's pretty close to what I wanted to do, I think. Make sure we've got essence of scale on there, and then that way when we come back with the green, because we are going to come back with the green. Let me dry this real quick, and that way I can make sure I won't reactivate. Hang on just a minute. Uh-oh. Somebody unplugged my hair dryer. Thought for a minute that my hair dryer tapped out on me. Doesn't take long. We're not painting with a lot of water, because this is not watercolor paper, which means it doesn't have a lot of sizing in it, and the sizing is what keeps watercolor paper from buckling up when you paint. And so, because it doesn't have a lot of sizing in it, it's kind of like painting with typing paper. It bubbles and curls on you. You can see that on the previous day's paper. So when you're selecting a sketchbook to do this kind of stuff in, keep in mind what you're going to do. If you're going to watercolor, you either want something with some heavy grain paper. It's not going to have any sizing in it. It's got to at least be heavy grain paper so that it doesn't buckle. And the best case scenario is that it has it's made for watercolor. It says watercolor on there. This book was not made for it. This book is just a sketchbook, not made at all for watercoloring, but most paper will take a light wash. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to give her a light wash here. That white stripe down her back is important. So we're going to make sure we preserve that. And then I'm going to come back in with some darker green. Just to separate out some places here like this. Which again gives us the essence of, first off, it makes her look round. And second, it gives us the essence of scales. Like the light is bouncing off of her in different angles, giving off different colors. I don't know how my buddy Bill feels about watercolors, but I know he will sit there and look at every scale on that snake because they're beautiful. Their scales are beautiful. Snakes are beautiful. He is a conservationist like I am. We think it should all be preserved. It all has important work to do, and we should let it get on about its work. All right. I think that's a snake right there. Why is the white stripe important? Because it identifies the snake. It makes the snake. It breaks up the look of the snake when it's in the jungle. It makes it look more viney. My mom's in the chat. Same as far as camouflage goes, it makes it look more viney. But as far as identification goes, it's one of the things that lets you know it's an emerald boa and not just any kind of green viper. So that is why the white stripe is important. It's important for identifying that it is this particular kind of snake. So I almost want to darken the page around it to kind of emphasize that white stripe is whiter than the paper. So I think I am. I'm going to just come around here. It won't take much because we're just going to tone the paper with just a little bit here, just enough to make that white on the snake stand out from the rest of the paper. See, it doesn't take much of that. And you don't have to do it all. You can just do kind of a cloud around the snake. All right, let me dry that and then we'll ink it. We're going to color it. We'll put a fork on it. I should be cool. We'll put some time this morning. Ivy's going to be upset she missed the paint drying. She let me know. She commented on yesterday's video. She let me know how disappointed she was that there was no paint drying. Because, you know, she's down for the paint drying. That's what she shows up to. Yeah, Ivy let me know that she was disappointed there was no paint drying yesterday. Because, you know, that's what she was here for. She's down for the paint drying. I know that's the highlight of the day for some of y'all. Now, I have a tendency to be sketchy with my lines at times. When you're drawing a snake or anything like that, fish, anything like that, it is important to remember that clean lines is what makes it look smooth. If you get sketchy with your lines here, you will look like they have fur. And I don't know if you've ever noticed Disney snakes have fur. If you look closely at Hiss, for instance, in Robin Hood, or if you look at Caw in the Jungle Book, you will notice that the way they sketch the lines in, they look like they have fur. So you want to make sure that you don't get sketchy with the lines when you get to the inking part. There. That is about as much tribute to my buddy Bill as I'm going to do. Habitat loss is the other big problem they have. And we talked about this before with some of the other rainforest animals. Habitat loss is another big problem they have because of the slash and burn practices of destroying rainforest land for cattle or for farming, and particularly for farming palm oil. And the problem with farming palm oil, you would think, well, they're cutting down a tree to plant a tree, so it should be okay. But they're not, because the trees that they're planting have no canopy. Yeah, my mom says she's going to have to watch a movie today and check out the snakes. Yeah, Caw in the Jungle Book, and Hiss, which is the same snake, by the way, in Robin Hood. Both the way they sketch them, they look like they have fur. They also look like they put their folds up like they're crossing their arms. What is today, the 12th? I feel like the camera hasn't changed. Every time I look up, I'm at this wide overhead view. I feel like it starts to look like the camera hasn't changed. Okay. My mom is assuring me in my ear that the camera is changing. I love having my mom in my ear. Funny thing about that is she's in my ear even when she's not there. She was such a good mom. I hear her voice sometimes, even when she's not there. All right, let's see, where are we? I want that brush right there. This pen doesn't even belong here. All right, so there is, if you look at the photograph, the comparison of my drawing to the photograph that was taken, let's see if we can see it from my perspective. So we're going to first turn this microphone off. We can figure out how to turn this microphone off. We're going to safely eject this camera. I need snake. No, okay. And then I'm going to take this down, open the camera. Oh, look, it's me. Turn it around, and let's look at it from my perspective. So here we go. From my perspective, it's an emerald boa snake. So guys, that's what I did this morning. The little girl has pulled an egg for the next one. It's not an egg this time, it's a little canister. Let's see what the little girl has pulled for tomorrow morning. And it is a Sphinx. Ooh, look at there, Sphinx. Part lion, part person, part eagle. So tomorrow we can talk about the riddle of the Sphinx. We can talk about how she blows her nose. We can talk about all that stuff tomorrow. If you're watching this, I think we set it aside for Sunday on purpose. if you're watching this Sunday morning, July 13th, and it's before 5:30 in the morning, then you're watching the trailer and we're about to draw this. So just hang on and we'll get right to it. But for the rest of us, my mom says, good thing that's saved for Sunday. I know, thank goodness we didn't pull it out for a Tuesday. So, okay. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to it every day. This is my way to stay focused on my art practice, because this morning I was laying there in bed going, what if I didn't? Well, it's because I've got my besties down here waiting on me, and I don't have any way to tell you I'm not coming. So if I'm going to come down here and tell you I'm not coming, I'm already here. I might as well do it. So accountability to my art practice is amazing. I'm on day 104, and it's fantastic. It looks like it's never going to end. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to it every day. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing. And as soon as somebody says they see me dancing, that means that I can take my mic off. And I don't know if I'm going to go back to bed, or if I'm, going back to bed sounds good. Maybe I'll take a shower. Maybe I'll take a shower. So, this shirt has seen better days, right? I may have to retire this shirt. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.